While I would love to see WoW's game direction change back to more of a classic mentality, this video right here is why I don't think classic will have much, if any, impact on retail WoW. Right off the bat, not having some sort of quest helper makes you look at your surroundings. It makes you read the quests, it makes you figure things out on your own, and all of this just helps keep your brain engaged. You get immersed into this beautiful world instead of just staring at a 2D map. You remember areas much easier, you remember the quests, and this just gets you attached to the game, gets you attached to your character. Mana, or resources in general, feel like a scarcity in Classic WoW. This scarcity causes downtime, and even some challenge, which I think are both positives. Downtime allows things to sink in. It makes you feel the cause and effect of your abilities. It makes each encounter more meaningful right from level 1. Downtime makes you appreciate your resources. When you don't have enough mana, you really feel the pain. The game also has items with a cost to make your downtime less. So it uses another scarce resource, gold, to reinforce the impact of running out of mana. As you level, this downtime changes depending on what you're fighting. This allows you to feel the progression of your character. When you hit level 2, fighting the same mobs, you immediately feel your character progress. You can cast more spells, or even just end the fight with more mana than you did at level 1. And this progression, though small, hooks you right away. It makes you want to continue getting stronger because you can feel these small improvements right from the beginning. The challenge aspect comes from managing the resources and making choices on how to spend it, or finding ways to get more of that resource, like gear or potions, which incentivizes getting better gear, or even incentivizes professions. When you get caught out low on mana, or accidentally start a fight with no mana because you're too used to retail WoW, you can immediately tell because that fight becomes so much harder. In Classic WoW, monsters take time to kill. This makes fighting monsters feel significant, even if they drop nothing. This adds time invested into your character at every single level. Even fighting random mobs keeps your brain engaged, not only because of the slight challenge, but because you're also looking out for other mobs around you. Your attacks can miss, resist, parry, block, they can get dodged, or they can hit or crit. This randomness, that can feel bad at times, makes it feel oh so much better when your attacks do hit, and significantly better when you get a big crit. Monsters can actually kill you, which once again keeps your brain engaged. You're constantly paying attention to your surroundings, because multiple mobs probably means you're gonna die, and you will die during the leveling process. This just motivates you to get stronger. You're forced to learn or continue to fail. You want to get new abilities and make abilities stronger to make the fights easier. You don't have every tool on every class to deal with these mobs. You may have a heal, but dealing damage and healing costs a lot of mana, which means there's a choice to be made to heal or to deal damage. This type of stuff just makes you want to group with others. One time, I was fighting a shaman, and right as I go he heals to full. I could not kill this mob. I needed help from others. I immediately ran for help because I was in this losing fight. You gain experiences with others right from the beginning, and you will remember these people that you have these experiences with, and maybe even continue grouping with them later on, which could lead you to joining a guild together, or could even lead to a 10+ year friendship with random people from the internet. This challenge, at some points, even makes you want to level professions. When you increase the difficulty, it makes you begin to think about different ways you can become stronger. I had a desire to level alchemy at a low level so that my friend and I could have buffs and potions for this low level quest that we were struggling to complete. I ran around picking herbs for 30 minutes to make enough potions so that when my friend got back online, we could have an easier time in a crowded cave quest at level 8. Leveling takes time. Time invested in your character throughout the journey makes you more attached to your character. You appreciate every level more. You appreciate the entire journey more. The entire journey is more memorable, not just at max level. In Classic WoW, there was no dungeon finder. There were no summoning stones. So finding people for a dungeon took a lot more time. You had this time investment that made things feel more rewarding when you completed them. Also, people aren't so quick to dismiss a player because of that time they invested in finding someone and getting to the dungeon. Someone that's half as good is better than no one. In Classic, gear is a scarcity as well. You learn to appreciate every green, or even a white, that you get in a new item slot. Blues are actually rare, and you're proud to have them, and epics don't just grow on trees. In raids, less gear dropped. Raids dropped 3 pieces per boss for 40 people. But this also meant that you had a chance to see the item that you wanted for a while and have a goal to work towards. Working towards this goal of a named item that you've seen before is so much more realistic and so much more meaningful once you do reach that goal. Titan forging just feels like a slot machine. You're just aiming for a higher number on an item that you technically already have. There's my short list of items that I think retail WoW could benefit from, which by far does not include everything. But now I want to get into why I don't think the release of Classic will benefit retail WoW at all. To my first point, Quest Helper and add-ons that mimic Quest Helper will never go away. They're too ingrained in the player base. There would be too much backlash. So, for the foreseeable future, memorable areas are just another yellow circle to run to. They can increase mob difficulty, which they've done before, but this won't change anything, because it's not just the difficulty of the monsters that matters. It's the amount of effort you have to put in, it's the amount of time you have to put in, it's managing your resources, it's choosing the different abilities from mob to mob, it's the fact that you lack tools from class to class. It's the minor progression throughout the journey, making mob difficulty change from level to level. They even recently did increase the difficulty of mobs. They added the eye level scaling to mobs, but this just added a damage and health modifier. It also doesn't give you that minor progression. As your gear increases, you don't really feel like you're getting stronger. From what I've seen, Blizzard thinks that difficulty at lower levels is seen as a deterrent to player retention. They made lower levels easier when the subs started dropping off, and for that reason, I don't think they'll ever bring that back. Or, another example is when they increased the dungeon difficulty in Cataclysm. This was received so poorly by the community that Blizzard nerfed all the dungeons. It's for these reasons that I don't foresee mob difficulty increasing in a meaningful way in the near future. With how much I've talked about time investment, it's a different world that we live in now than when WoW came out in 2004. WoW has to compete with many different platforms, and thus, Blizzard has reduced session playtime to about 30 minutes or less. It's for this reason that I definitely don't see Dungeon Finder being removed from the game. This means that you'll continue to have no time invested into finding a group. No attention will be paid to who anyone is. You have no reason to add somebody to your friends list just to make it easier to find a group in the future. And there's no incentive to stick with the group you have. If somebody's bad, you just replace them. I also think this leads to Raid Finder never being taken out of the game, which basically leads me to my next point. Scalable content is here to stay. When you just increase the difficulty of the same content, your sense of progression is diminished. Currently, they scale mobs compared to people's gear, which diminishes progression. They have Mythic Plus, which are just the same dungeon over and over again, scaled out infinitely. They have 4 different raid difficulties. They have Raid Finder, Normal, Heroic, and Mythic, which in my opinion just takes away from the desire to do harder content. It's the same raid repeated over and over again. That means it's the same gear, just with a different number on it. Each unique item no longer becomes unique. You see it everywhere, just with a different eye level. I don't ever see Raid Finder being taken out of the game. Blizzard is just trying to make everyone happy, which ultimately makes no one satisfied. With all of this scalable content, I feel like there's no sense of becoming strong enough. With Mythic Plus, you get more gear. Oh, well, there's always more levels of Mythic Plus to do. Not to mention, each time a big patch comes out, they increase the difficulty of that old content. This only exacerbates the feeling of the treadmill. You just get the same gear again, but you need it at a higher eye level now. All of your previous work from the last patch feels suddenly irrelevant. Even with how rewarding itemization feels in Classic, I don't think retail will make any changes. In retail, epics are distributed quickly, but with high variance. With things like Titan Forging, it's meant to keep people chasing that carrot, which changes the desire for this named piece to just a number on the item. Those named items were so memorable in Classic. A number is significantly less memorable. Mythic Plus ultimately does the same thing as Titan Forging. You're just constantly chasing a higher eye level on these same items. This treadmill, or carrot on a stick, I think Blizzard views this as a better way to keep players subscribed instead of someone's attachment to their character or the progression of their character. So I don't foresee this changing anytime soon. So with Classic, I think there is more meaningful time investment in every aspect of the game. I think this made for more engaging content. You gain an attachment to the world and to your character. You get this sense of progression throughout the entire journey. And this time investment allows you to foster relationships, which keeps people invested in the game. With today's industry, competing for attention means shorter bursts of less engaging content. And for that reason, I don't think the release of Classic will have any impact on retail at all.
Oh my.